Steve Jobs, the untold journey that changed the world. Asterisk, imagine you're a young man with no money, no fancy degree, and no clear plan for life. You sleep on friends' floors. You return Coke bottles for spare change. And yet, in your mind, you see the future. Not just any future, but one where a small box of circuits and glass can hold the entire world's knowledge and fit in your pocket. This isn't fiction. This isn't a movie. This is Steve Jobs, a man who didn't just sell computers. He sold dreams. A man who stood on the edge of complete failure. Twice, and came back. Twice, and in the process, changed how every single one of us lives today. But what most people don't know is that Steve's journey was far from glamorous. It's a story of betrayal, loneliness, obsession, and an unshakable belief in his own vision, even when the whole world laughed at him. So, let's go back to where it all began, asterisk. Steve Jobs was born in 1955 in San Francisco and given up for adoption. His birth parents were young, unprepared. So a working-class couple, Paul and Claire Jobs, took him in. From the start, Steve wasn't like other kids. While other children played with toys, Steve tore them apart to see how they worked. His father, a mechanic, showed him how to work with his hands. Not just to build, but to build beautifully. Even the back of a fence, Paul told him, should be made as perfectly as the front, even if no one will ever see it. Those words would later shape every Apple product ever made. At 17, Steve went to Reed College, but within months, he dropped out. Why? He felt guilty spending his parents' savings on something he didn't believe in. But here's the twist. Dropping out didn't mean dropping out of learning. He stayed on campus, sleeping on floors, taking free classes. One of them was calligraphy. No practical use at the time. But a decade later, that class would inspire the beautiful font on the first Macintosh computer. It's a reminder, sometimes the dots only connect looking backward. In 1976, in a small garage in Los Altos, California, Steve Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak built the first Apple computer. No office, no investors, just two young dreamers soldering wires on a wooden table. Apple grew fast. Within a few years, they went from a garage to becoming a Fortune 500 company. Jobs was only 25 and worth over $100 million. But here's where the story turns dark. By 1985, tension was building inside Apple. Jobs clashed with the board. They saw him as reckless, too ambitious, too demanding, and then they fired him from the very company he started. Imagine building your dream from scratch and then being told, you don't belong here anymore. For most people, that's the end of the story. For Steve Jobs, it was just the beginning. In his exile, Jobs founded Next, a company that would later create technology so advanced it became a foundation for the modern Mac. He also bought a struggling animation studio called Pixar. Most thought he was crazy. But in 1995, Pixar released Toy Story, the world's first fully computer-animated film. It was a massive hit, and Pixar became an empire. By 1997, Apple was on the verge of bankruptcy. Desperate, the board brought Steve back. And in the next 10 years, he unleashed a wave of products that would reshape the planet. The iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad. It wasn't just technology. It was art in your hands. Jobs believed in simplicity. He once said, simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean, to make it simple. He was also relentless. Colleagues described him as impossible to work with because he demanded nothing less than perfection. He didn't care about what was possible today. He cared about creating what people didn't even know they needed yet. In 2003, Jobs was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Even as his health declined, he kept working, unveiling new products with his trademark black turtleneck and a smile that hid the pain. On October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs passed away at 56. But he left behind something no illness could destroy, a legacy that continues to touch billions of lives every single day. And maybe his greatest lesson isn't about technology at all. It's this. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the richest. But you do have to believe with every fiber of your being that your vision matters, and then you have to fight for it. Because sometimes the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who actually do. Asterisk,